This week on Bruh Meets World.
In my mind, it's just like, why does he keep going to do this? Oh, because life keep coming at him. This isn't him like reading into things.
Sure.
This isn't him being like, oh, I got an F, let me self-destruct. This is every other week he finds out something else about his family.
Sure.
Every other week he gets hit with something else. Like, oh, I have a secret brother. Oh, my father died. Oh, my mom's not my mom. Maybe I'm constantly spiraling because I'm constantly being hit with instability.
And we're learning a lot about how the 90s is treating mental health, because everyone seems to present Shawn with this idea of like, just be grateful for what you have. As if to say that he isn't afforded the option of mourning like these like people who keep leaving him. Like, he's forming these close relationships, people keep disappearing, and like for everyone else it's like, yeah, Shawn's dad took off again, isn't that crazy? Like, that keeps happening. But anyways, Dad, do you want to go? Like, it just feels like no one is putting themselves in his shoes to empathize with him, to the point where it's like, let him have the drink, Dad. Like, let's not yell at him. Like,
thank you.
When this boy meets world.
What up, bros?
what up, bros?
And welcome to Bruh Meets World,
What up, Bruh Meets World?
your Boy Meets World fan cast. I'm Ceej.
Tony Coitus.
And we're back again.
Back again. Back in black.
Back in black. It ain't Black History Month, but we heal.
We here.
We still heal.
Okay.
Tony, the weather in LA is sunny again.
Ooh, yeah.
We can go outside, walk around. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Not only is the sun coming back out, the week we're filming this coming Sunday, we're getting a fucking hour of sunshine back, and I'm so excited for that. Like, nighttime coming at like 3 p.m. was a severe problem for me, and I'm glad we're past it.
Someone said, you seasonal depression girlies, we made it.
Yeah.
We on the other side. And honestly, I give it to them. Honestly, I'm so happy the little conversation that we had brightened my day, much like the yellow on your shirt. And I want to say to everyone, we love hearing from you. Let us know how the weather is where you are.
Absolutely.
You can reach out to us at bruhmeetsworld@gmail.com or at bruhmeetsworld on all the social platforms. You have been blowing up our YouTubes. Thank you. You have been subscribing to our Patreon. Thank you. You have been buying our merch. Thank you. So hit us up at bruhmeetsworld on all the places. You guys continue to talk to us. We love it. We are going to get into this episode. Okay. In order to get into this episode, Tony, I think you have to do the Tell Me About It.
Oh shit. Okay. All right. So here's the Tell Me About It for Family Tree. Tell us about it. Shawn's whole life was a lie. Met the ghost dad of Christmas past, only to learn his mama used to shake that ass.
Woo! Loving it. Come on, dollar bills, y'all. Okay, this is season 7, episode 12, Family Trees. Shawn has trouble dealing with the fact that he doesn't know who his mother is. In a B storyline, Eric throws a surprise party for Alan, but Shawn gets an even bigger surprise when the Matthews offer to adopt him.
That's one way to tell the story of this
That
episode.
is one way to tell the story. All right, first impressions. Where are you at with this episode?
Poor Alan.
Poor Alan.
Motherfucker just wanted a good birthday. He just wanted a good birthday. He wanted something to look forward to. He's a dad. He's turning 46. He already went through the midlife crisis thing when he had the baby last year. Like, he has so little. And like, I mean, I understand Shawn has some trauma to process, but pick and choose your time. Pick and choose your timing.
There's that. This episode is interesting to me because I want to make it very clear. I like this episode. So for all of you who are like worried, I do like this episode, but I'm gonna pick this thing apart. I'm gonna pick at it.
I was gonna say I'm not a fan of this episode.
Really? See, I like this episode for a few reasons. I'm sorry. I don't know what you want from me. I don't like Cory in this episode, and if that bothers you, I'll look inward, because Cory in this episode is a problem. But the episode itself, what we do with Shawn, I enjoy. The idea of Alan stepping up and being a dad and all this other stuff. I have my problems with it, but I ultimately like it. I like what we're doing. I like that we have most of the cast. Like, if we're gonna do a roll call really quickly, we get Blake Hart back as Chet Hunter. I literally was like, "Ghost Chet!"
Ghost Chet.
And then Jeff Manel
Mm-hmm.
now is back as Santa. So again, lots of
Can I
wildly.
just say this? Like, the reason why I have an issue with this episode. First of all, I told you this shit. Go back and listen to season 4. I told you
did.
that Verna was a red herring.
No,
And it kind of
no. We're gonna talk about Verna, we're gonna talk about the hunters, we're gonna talk about some things. Because my whole thing with this is everyone got down on Verna. Now, I will say, you spoiled this for me. I hadn't seen this episode in forever, but in the back of my mind, you mentioned it once, and my mind never let it go. So I knew that this was the episode that we find out that Verna wasn't Shawn's mom. And I was upset with you because I was like, I would have been flabbergasted had this just like come up naturally. But also, I do not like that Verna is painted out to be the villain when this woman took care of someone else's child for
it's
years.
too much. Honestly, it cheapens all the storyline of season 4 with Verna and Chet, I think. The idea of like, there's so many times where we're like, hey, they're not bringing this up from season 4. Hey, they're not bringing this up from season 5. You guys reached in the back of your damn pockets for Verna. Like, this character that hasn't been mentioned in 3 years, as they so happen to point out. And it's like, if we're going to start pulling stuff from the past, why is this what we're doing? 1. 2, we had Shawn go through such an arc last season that, like, I get that, like, sometimes people take 5 steps forward, 2 steps back, whatever it may be. But it just also feels kind of like overdone at this point. I don't know. The fact that this is the Christmas episode, this is the second bummer ass Christmas episode we've gotten in a row. I'm just like, please, why can't we just have a good Christmas episode for once?
I'm not gonna lie to you. When I saw that this was Christmas, I was like, what are we doing? Why is this Christmas? Why? Why is this Christmas? Also, Alan is born in December. Is that what we're saying? Like, very weird.
Who the hell knows? His birthday is one of convenience.
Absolutely. So okay, I want to go back to it, and let's just start with the idea of we open up, we have they're planning Alan's birthday party. Sure. We understand he will be 46. It's fun to see, and the reason why I want to say all this, we get almost all of the cast together in a way that we haven't seen in a while.
It was fun to see Topanga with the Matthews only, to let you know that she's now a sister to Morgan. She's now a sister to Eric. Like, she's in the mix.
And absolutely. And this episode also continues to have Cory and Topanga be a couple and like have their own bits and work together, and they kind of like are on the same page constantly.
Yeah.
Even when they're not, they're still like in it together. They're in like their own little side storyline. And then Shawn comes in and he's like, "Hey,
can we pause for a second? When they're planning it, there's this joke about how Alan was a Navy SEAL. I just want to bring that up because it comes in later on in the episode during a different part that
I was going to bring that up later, but keep going.
But no, this is just a point where Eric just chokes Cory for disagreeing with him. There's a lot of like rage that
I think it's the Simpsons approach.
Yeah, it was very like brotherly rage that everyone just kind of rolls their eyes at, and I'm like, are they the kind of brothers that do this still? Like, if it doesn't feel...
Well, I think this is really important. We establish in Kid Gloves that Alan was in the Navy. And Cory says he was a cook in the Coast Guard. And I was like, did you guys forget your own lore? What's going on? And then later on, Alan says, because I was a Navy SEAL. And I was like, okay, so one of 2 things is happening. One, you've completely lost the thread and you honestly don't know. And you're saying that it don't matter, which is very fine. Or 2, you're implying that Cory doesn't know anything about his father.
Or remember how Kid Gloves ended. Kid Gloves was an episode where Alan gave Cory the silver gloves that he got in the Navy for boxing. Cory loses them in the pool, goes swimming after dark to get them, retrieves them, gives them back to Alan and says, I want you to give these to me on the best day of my life. And Alan says, when's that? And Cory says, on the day you give them back to me. My guess is Alan never gave him back to him.
Why
He
would he?
spent some time with Cory. He was like, you know what? Never mind. I'm saving this for Joshua. Someone else is gonna earn this.
Absolutely. Why not Morgan? You saying Morgan can't get some gloves? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they've made it very clear that Alan is a boy's dad. So
well, there's that. But then also, to your point, Morgan leaves halfway through the episode. Like during the party, where's Morgan?
they
During
constantly joke, would anyone care if she died?
where's Joshua, by the way? This is a man's 46th birthday. All of his kids are around. We're talking about him being a great dad. Where's the baby?
Baby gone. Baby had plans. Baby got invited to Eric's party the next day.
So anyway, like I thought that was really important. I was gonna bring it up anyway. But so going back to it, Shawn comes in and he is like, hey, I got a letter from my mom, Verna. And Cory's like, don't open it. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, first of all, this is like, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not sorry. You get on my page. You get on my level. Because Cory, I'm not gonna lie, I watched this entire thing being like, they continuously tell me that Cory is Michael. And I'm like, I have thoughts because
We're learning a lot.
that he would come in and tell Shawn, don't open it, throw it out. And it's like, why? I'm hearing from my mother for the first time in years. Let's see what she has to say. You don't need to see what she has to say. You're doing good. You're in a good place. We're in a good place. Life is fine. Don't interrupt it. Why? Because you're going to interrupt my flow. It's not that you don't need to know these things. It's not like we don't know that you've always struggled with having an identity and family around and all these other stuff. It's purely because Cory is like, you're going to disrupt how good everything's going for me. And I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. And I'm like, I honestly cannot, because it's controlling. And then when Amy is like, yo, maybe we should let Shawn open the letter. Maybe he needs reasons you can't see. He goes, excuse me, did anybody ask you?
I don't think anyone asked for your opinion, Mom. I was just like, what? Cory's clearly a kid who's never been slapped in the face.
He is clearly a kid who's never, because she like pushes his face, and I was like, you did it right, because a black mama.
That little.
We'll see you next week.
A little season of that. Okay, so one thing I find I want to talk about with Cory is the show wants us to think like, oh, Cory is just so in tune with Shawn that he just knows what's gonna happen. Like he just knows, and like he's like really looking out for Shawn when he's kind of like trying to control the situation. But the argument to that is that Cory could say, like, hey, Shawn, I see you're really excited about this. Like, let's taper expectations, open it when you're ready. Like, that's not my choice to make for you. But like, hey, let's, just maybe don't expect the world out of this letter or something. Like, just have a conversation about expectations. Would have been fine for him to say, like, don't open it, tear it up, throw it away, and like getting mad at Amy and Topanga for not backing him up. He snapped at Topanga and said, don't you ever snap at me in public again. Like, what are we doing?
Again, I think the problem is that's supposed to be funny. And I'm like, that's not funny. That's when you turn to your, don't you ever in front of other people. Like if okay, let's play this game. Let's play this game. If a black man did that, would it be funny? Tyler Perry has several movies that say otherwise. And I just think that we should acknowledge that even though it is played comedically, it is not funny.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that it's upsetting to see Cory once again. Now, I will say, if one thing is true, y'all are being true to Cory. Cory absolutely would impose himself. Cory absolutely would say, I know best. You have to listen to me. And because you didn't listen to me, you deserve any kind of disappointment you get. That's Cory's character.
Well,
True to his character.
Can I just say, and you're right, that is his character. The problem with that being this version of Cory, the reason why he's so unlikable is because, like, let's take Fishing for Verna for an example. When we're first introduced, Cory is there to listen to Shawn, listen to Verna, mediate something that works between the two of them and help that family like be good on its own. He's not really caring about himself. In fact, he's going across the highway back and forth to like just help his friend. Like it's this ongoing joke in the episode. So to have Cory just be this person who's so just like, you're gonna ruin the vibe, first of all, and to also just again, he's centering himself in Shawn's trauma with his parents, his family trauma. He's clearly like being very insensitive to it at the least. Like he's just I brought this up in the previous episode. I don't think Cory is a good friend. He's just the one who stuck around. And I say that because that seems to be Shawn's only qualification for a good person in his life, as noted with the Chet conversation later. So it just feels like no one's checking Cory for him to like have a development in this way at all.
Absolutely. And I agree with you because exactly what you said. I was like, Cory's not a good friend because a good friend would understand your father died last year and your mother just entered back into your life. Wow. Oh, wait a minute. She just dropped a bomb that not only is she never coming back,
Yeah.
which you yourself was like expected. Okay. Still hurtful, by the way. But also, I'm not your mom. I've been keeping this secret for your dad, for this man who honestly probably never treated me right. And like for her to wait until he died, again, it tells me out of respect for him, I kept that secret. But I don't want to be your mother anymore. Why? I'm being judged for not being the mother that you thought I should be, and I was never your mother. That was never my role.
But that's the thing. Verna is not a character in the show. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's not someone who it's like, oh, this matters to Shawn whatsoever. This is such a random thing. Like, I truly just don't see like this story of, oh, your dad died, so I feel inspired to like let this off of my chest. Like, I just feel like, why wouldn't she just let it alone? Like, she hasn't contacted him this long. She didn't even reach out to him when Chet died.
Here's the thing. I think, well, first of all, she says that she just found out that Chet died. So I think that's what she said in the letter. The letter says, I found out that Chet died. And so I thought I would write you. She just found out that Chet died. And after she found out that Chet died is when she also says, by the way, I'm not your mother. And you say, why? You say this doesn't matter. I disagree. B, you say, why now? And I say now because she's like, in case you come looking for me, I know that you have no one else. So in case you spent, just like you did with your biological mother, once you found out she was out there, once you found out where she was, you went looking for her. And I think for Verna was like, look, if you, in case you come looking for me, I want you to know I'm not your mother. And I can't pretend to be anymore.
But he wasn't looking for her. That's the thing. Like, if the show had made it so that like planting seeds throughout the season of just like, yeah, dad died, but like my mom's still out there, like just something, because like he wasn't looking for her.
He wasn't.
He had moved on, considering he'd never see her again.
He had not moved on. He just like, here, you want to know how I know he had not moved on? Because we had never gotten the I'm an orphan speech before. If he had moved on, we would have gotten the I'm an orphan speech earlier. We would have gotten the I'm an orphan speech after Chet died. There is something about it, and I'm just going to tell you this as like, I mean, you're familiar with like having an estranged parent.
Yeah.
There's this idea of, I know you're out there. I don't have to know where you're at. I don't have to know what you're doing, but I know you're out there, and that means something. And one day, any day I want to, I can reach out to you. I can go looking for you. That makes a difference. And for Shawn, I agree with you. He wasn't looking for her, but Verna was like, don't come looking. She's like, I need you to know because this was never my secret to keep. This was Chet's. Chet didn't want you to know this. And I kept it. And again, I want you, like, it's really funny because they are on season 4. So we get like the exact, like we're able to like draw this line. And when you consider, again, everything that we know about Chet and Verna, I think you can't disconnect everything we know about Chet and Verna. Chet is someone who was a swindler, who was someone who was a con artist. He was a sweet talker. Later on in this episode, we find out that Shawn's mother was a stripper. He's been married 50 times.
Can I ask you this? If Verna was never Sean's mom, why did she write him a letter every day for a year? If
Because
Verna was this person who and my issue is not like, I get everything you're saying. Like, that makes sense if we are doing the work to put this shit together.
oh yeah,
But
absolutely.
as the show sets it up, Verna was this person who, yes, I am estranged, but I think about you every day. I care about you, and I'm in constant contact with you, even when I'm not around, is how she's introduced to us.
Okay. So here's the thing. First of all, you and I are completely creating fanfic. All this is in our head. We're making these ties. They didn't think about this at all. They barely know whether or not Alan was in the Coast Guard or the Navy. So this is all for us. But I will say, to give anyone kind of like some connecting thread, in my opinion, you can care about someone and not actually be related to them. Like, I'll say this. There was a time where I dated this dude who used to babysit these kids regularly. This was like 10 years ago. He babysit these kids all the time. I got to see these kids all the time. When we broke up, I never got to see those kids. And do I like think about those kids every day? No. But also, I do think about those kids occasionally. They were important to me. I'm like, oh, what are they doing? How are they doing? Like, so I can see a world in which, no, I cared about you. You were still my family. I still agreed, no matter what happened, for at least for bare minimum, the first 10 years of your life, bare minimum, I was your mom. That's 10 years. I can see her still feeling that way. And for whatever reason she left, she was like, hey, I need to leave again. And she did. But also at the exact same time, she always has been carrying this. And I think that's another thing. Imagine having to look at a child and lie to their face every day. And she just didn't want to do it anymore. That's how I see it.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. I feel like, you ever watch like Maury or some shit like that? Where like they're like, and the DNA test is, and like the dad will get news that like he's not the dad, like the real dad to the baby, or something like that. But there's still like well, no, that's my kid. Like, regardless, like I didn't give, that's not my DNA, but that's my kid. Like,
But
I'm there for that kid.
I think that what we're doing right now is we're equating being a parent as something that you are supposed to want. It's something that you're supposed to take on. Even in this episode, we have Alan being like, who cares how many kids I have? You are my child.
Mhm.
And that is seen as a noble thing. But what if you never wanted the kid? Like think about it, because the whole reason why I'm saying this, and I was waiting for later, but we can talk about it now. He Ghost Chat, which we will get to, Ghost Chat
Mhm.
says, your mother was a stripper. She never wanted you. But you had a tushy that Verna couldn't deny. What does that tell us? That tells us that Shawn was born during a time that Chat knew Verna. And if
Yeah.
we're going to assume, this is an assumption, but if we're going to, that means that Chet was with Verna when his side piece got pregnant and she took
Mm.
on the rest. Do you get what I'm saying?
Can I
Like,
just say that, like, yes, I get what you're saying. It all makes sense. We, as the audience, as fans, have to do so much heavy lifting to connect. I am truly like saying this, like, this episode, I like not only empathize, like feel everything that you're saying as I'm watching this episode, because I'm doing the work up here. If
I'm not
I am
disagreeing with that.
just taking the episode as it is, first of all, I just started watching the show in college because they were in college. So who's this Verna character that hasn't been mentioned in 2 years? Like, it's so odd for them to take this character who hasn't appeared so long, make her such a central figure to the point where it like destroys the life of this. So give us Shawn looking for Verna. Give us Shawn mentioning Verna's name. Give us Verna's name coming up when Chet dies, after Chet dies, on the road trip. It's never about like, wow, Verna didn't even reach out to me. I'm pissed at her. She like nothing. Nothing.
Here's the thing. First of all, I'll say we have, this is sitcom. Like, I think about the fact that, like, for years, like, think about sitcom, like the one that we use all the time, Friends. Out of nowhere, Rachel's sisters just show up. These are people, are we aware about them? Have they kind of been mentioned? Yes. But all of a sudden, these are full-fledged characters who are in her life and they show up unannounced, and you're like, where have you been? It's been seasons, and all of a sudden you're here and you're active and you're talking, and we're supposed to believe you have history with these people and that you didn't come to someone's wedding or but like that's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is
Can I just say something? If Rachel's sister showed up and you'd never met her before, Reese Witherspoon's there, and the whole thing is about how, like, hey, by the way, I'm not your real sister anyway. Like, it would kind of like, don't you need a little bit of connection, like recent, like connective tissue in the storyline for the audience to be able to take that journey with her?
Yes and no. And my argument for this is I yes, I do. I think you're right that I could use a little bit of hint of Verna or a little discussion of
That's
Verna
all I'm saying.
throughout the season.
Everything
I
all
agree
the
with you.
points you're making are accurate. That's all I'm saying. I could just use a little bit more.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But I also will say, writer sells this. Like, I don't
Yeah.
need to know who Verna is to understand that this is someone who has lost all the people who, or sorry, he's lost all authority figures in his life. To him,
Yeah.
like, he is also, where's Feeney? We'll come back to that.
They couldn't
But
afford
anyway,
everybody.
but like this idea of Shawn being like, hey, again, we don't need to know who Verna is. My mom, who we all don't see, including me, just wrote me for the first time. Oh, she heard that my dad just died. Oh, by the way, she's not my real mom. That's a pal. That's anybody finding out. You can get a random letter from any TV show, and I've never seen it. And if in that episode someone gets a letter and says, by the way, the person who you thought were your parents are not your parents, I would understand that this is a big moment. What I don't see is I don't see any empathy from Cory about this. It's more of like a told you so. And we're not giving Shawn room to grieve. Everything is very, very much like, Shawn, let it go. She's in the past. Your dead dad's in the past. Look at us. Look at who we are now. Look at what you have. And it's like, I get all of that, but this dude just lost his father, and out of nowhere, through a postage stamp, lost his mother.
Yes, for the sake of time, I do agree. And I do believe writer sells this very, very well. And he makes this work, even though there are gaps here. I couldn't help but wonder after the last episode we saw with writer, where he's living with Angela and decides that they haven't suffered enough. And I'm just like, does this show know how to write for writer or write for Shawn where he's not like going through shit? It just doesn't feel like they know how to write a happy Shawn anymore without him being dumb. Like every like joyful Shawn story I ever have a scene I can recall is due to the fact that he was like being so dumb that he was just like, oh yeah, we're gonna throw this radio thing and oh Feeney can't see us, we're right in front of him, like playing on that almost Eric level of stupidity. However, now that he's become this brooding, poetry reading, serious, they don't know how to write joyful shit for him anymore. And it's kind of a bummer that like he's constantly relegated to like being the very special episode.
I will say I agree with you there, because what we do in this episode, we are kind of leaning on the tropes of the characters instead of advancing these characters in any meaningful way. So, for example, to your point, Shawn has a tragedy that the whole episode takes over, to the point to where Angela is like, business as usual. Shawn got message that he's not gonna like. He's gonna deal with it badly. We all gotta respond. Cory is just like, oh God, no one listens to me. I have to be in control all the time. Eric, I'm stupid and zany and like it is constantly, it's very, very tropey. So I will agree with you there. I will say that this episode at least tries to bring everyone together in a way
Yeah.
that I'm appreciating season 7 doing. And
Yeah.
it actually does, it gives a good reason for Shawn to feel this way. I just don't think it knows how to let Shawn sit with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
And
so for example, all right, we talk about this. He goes, I've had 3 mothers: Berna, Mingwei, and Elaine McGinty. And first time we're hearing about 3 moms.
yeah,
What made Berna special? That's where I'm at with you.
sure.
Also, we are dealing with 2000s internet. And they
Yeah.
are going on the computer like, "Duh, duh, 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 duh. Oh, we found her. How are you doing this?" There's no Facebook. There's no
This is
findme.com. Like,
this is Ask Jeeves, bro. One
ask
thing
Jeeves, where's my mom?
one thing I want to point out is that Jack is the one who's helping Shawn, and one of the things Shawn is like saying is that like she's the only family I have left, and Jack is like, I'm right here, bro. And then Shawn looks at him and very like adamantly states, "You are my half brother." And there was something so just like visceral about that, and just that way of like Jack almost seems like because even if you think about after Chet died, like he was trying to connect with Shawn. It felt in all fairness, Jack has been continuously the one to try to connect with Shawn, and Shawn's always been the one saying, I'm not interested. So it makes sense that Jack kind of gave up on it in a way. But it's also kind of sad when you see Shawn so desperate to connect with family, and like he's just straight up refusing to connect with this dude who's actively trying to be a part of his life.
Absolutely. And that's again, I like this. I like this idea of, first of all, Jack says something along the lines of, we could, like, instead of searching for your mom, we could search for your brother. Oh, wait, all right, here. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
wait, what you don't know, oh, man, we may have forgotten is actually we could do that search and still find people
Yeah.
because he
New
has
people.
other siblings. So there's that. But then also this idea of Jack being like, hey, reminder, I came here to find you. I
Yep.
am your family. It's also funny because I was watching a TikTok earlier today, even that was like, what's black mom math? And it was
Oh.
like, you don't have no half brother. Your brother is a whole person. And I was like, so to see him be like, you're my half brother. And it's like, no, 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 that's your whole brother.
That's your whole brother.
That's your whole brother. So anyway, I understand Shawn's desire to want to find this
Yep.
other person, this other mom. And then for Topanga, again, I like this is what I do like about the episodes. We're getting so many interesting dynamics. For Topanga to speak up and say, Shawn, you have a tendency to push people away during these times.
Yeah.
I was like, that's good. I really do like this.
I do like that. Like the episode does a very good job of showing Shawn's support system and how crucial his support system is to like prevent him from like self-destructive like tendencies and things like that. But I also just don't feel like I got anything that I didn't get last season when his dad died. Like I don't know. Like I don't know that this advances this story for me at all in any way. Like
I think here's the thing. I think it does because here's the thing. Shawn becomes an orphan this episode.
Yeah.
That's important. Like, and the problem is, and I think the problem that you have is the episode doesn't let you sit with it. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't allow Shawn to grieve. I'm
Yeah.
like, you guys, stop. Like, stop, pause. This dude lost both of his parents this week.
It's devastating when he's drunk and he says to Angela, like, we don't have mommies. And it was just like, oh, like, it's so sad. And everyone's just like, you got to stop drinking. And it's just like, this dude is clearly going
First
through
of all, let's talk about that because, like, we're at Alan's, we're at the Matthews house.
We'll circle back to the Eric Allen shit.
We will. I'm just saying, like, we're at the Matthews house. We're pretending not to have a birthday party. It turns out there's a surprise party. Eric, I can't do names today. Cory says to Shawn before he leaves, don't forget my dad's birthday.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he's not going to show up. But he does show up. Shawn shows up. And at first I was like, what's going on? And they're like, oh my God, everyone's just acting. I was like, I'm confused. And I was like, is he supposed to be drunk? Because we don't give him a beer or anything.
Yeah.
And I was
they
like,
don't show him drinking, but they
Yeah.
insinuate that he is. It was such like a Disney note, like workaround.
Yeah, but also like you could have given him like a I only get literally at some point in time, like I think Jack eventually says something like you're drunk. And I was like, oh, because I was confused. What are we saying here? But all right, Shawn is drunk. And again, why would no one be like, yeah, I get it. Like, don't be like, Shawn, what are you doing? We told you not to act like this. How could you be drunk? The orphan child? The
Yeah.
orphan child who grew up around people who drank their feelings away? That we're judging that one? You can say, hey Shawn, like Angela's approach of like, let's go for a walk.
Yeah.
Let's not make this happen. Like
And she
all of
also
these,
didn't make him feel shitty about himself. She wasn't
yes,
like shaming him. She was just like, yeah, let's just go for a walk. Let's get out of here.
yeah,
Like,
that's fine. But everyone else being like here,
mhm.
now, it's like, yes, because that's when I got the information. Here and now. And I'm dealing with it. And I would have liked had Alan, instead of just being like, I'll be your dad, I'll take you in. I got room for kids, and
Mhm.
kind of like throwing them in his face. You're like, again, it's solution based, it's not empathy based. And I think that's my problem. And for again, I want people to understand. I think that it is an altruistic move. However, I do think you should allow people to grieve. You should allow people to feel their feelings. I would have loved it if Alan would have been when Alan was like, "Hey, come with me for a sec." I thought maybe Alan would be the one to take him to the cemetery. How great would that have been? And Alan would have been
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I want to do something for you, just
Yeah.
you and I.
That would have been
For
great.
my birthday, the one thing that I want is for Shawn, you to come with me for a walk,
Sure.
and him going and him taking him to the
It would
cemetery."
have connected the birthday storyline. It would have made it great. Yeah, I love that. I love that
Or,
because what I
or
truly what. Oh, go ahead.
really quickly, or I just thought about this. You know who knows what it's like to not have parents? Alan.
Yeah.
You know whose main caregiver was always on the road and unreliable? Alan. You know whose father we never hear about other than the fact that he was working class?
Mhm.
Alan. So if Alan would have been the one to take him to the cemetery and be like, I actually know what you are going through more than you realize. I've been you. I was you. I am you. And I need you to know that, hey, I don't have a mommy either. I don't have a daddy either. But look at how my life turned out. There is a way for you to move forward and have support, but you just have to grieve and allow yourself the opportunity to feel sad about that, but also not think that you're alone. Like that's it. I would have loved that.
Yeah,
Like
I
fantastic.
like that. I go back and forth because I truly don't think that like anyone should be offering Shawn the solution to this thing he just found out about. Like I feel like he would of course refuse anything that anyone offered him in that moment. I like the idea of Alan kind of talking to him, walking with him, taking him to the cemetery, but I also feel like this reinforces the idea that everyone needs to template themselves to the Matthews, and if Alan found a way out of his situation, you could too. But I feel like it's getting dangerous at this
I
point.
agree, but I'm saying that it's at least a better, like again,
It's a better connection between the storylines, if
we're
anything
giving
else.
Alan some because Alan is Shawn.
Yeah.
We know that. We know
Hmm.
that Shawn, like again, Alan's mom always on the road, never there,
Sure.
just like Chad. Alan never talks about his dad. Alan did go into the military in the same way that Shawn almost went into the military.
Sure. There's a lot of
So
overlap. Yeah.
there's a lot of overlap. And if they would have, specifically on Alan's birthday, which would have been a great way to parallel him to actually reframe, oh, I'm getting old. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It goes from, oh, I'm being old to look how far I've come.
Another similarity, just one thing I want to point out between Shawn and Alan, when they were doing the real world parody in season 5, Shawn goes back to like an apartment in Philly and was like, yeah, this is where I lived with Jack for a little while. It's almost the exact same place where Alan
Yeah.
takes Cory in that average Cory episode.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you guys basically come from the same block. And you're right. Like, it's like, I am you, but I'm the happy version of it. That I think that really could have worked. I want to rewind a little bit to
Okay.
something that we skipped over, and I just want to throw it out there real fast. When Cory suggests that Shawn is going to self-destruct, he says that he's going to devastate himself and everyone around him. And Angela so casually says, as usual, to the point where I was like, ooh, first of all, that was a little chilling of a response to say to that. Like, what other Chet qualities and tendencies is Shawn revealing in his relationships? Angela's living with Shawn for the first time, and like we don't know like how he's displaying himself when no one's around. Like it felt like a line where I was just like, as usual, how often does he fucking do this? Because we haven't seen him drink and go crazy since season 5. The one time he did it, and then he said he was never going to do it again.
I don't think it's just about the drinking. I think it's in general, it's the self-destructiveness. It's the I'm going to leave and no one's going to know where I'm at of it all. Like, because think about it. He says, I'm leaving. And I don't mean I'm like he's like, I'm leaving, but I'll be back. Like, he even understands. The whole show is saying that, like, when Chet died, he disappeared.
Yeah.
Whenever Shawn gets like, he almost joined a cult. You know, like, Shawn is someone who, whenever things are going bad for him or whenever he feels alone in the world, he is self-destructive. And to your point, Cory goes, ugh, he's gonna do it all again. And Angela's like usual. And it's like, but why is he doing this, you guys?
Well, why are
Maybe,
you
is it
letting him? Like, also, like, you're like, he's walking away, and like later in the episode, Cory follows him. He's like, huh, I knew you would, but I'm like, how come no one followed him before he made these bad decisions?
well, also to that point, like, you said earlier, let him. Like, you can't control this dude. Let's not have it be solution based. But also, in my mind, it's just like, why does he keep going to do this? Oh, because life keep coming at him. This isn't him like reading into things.
Sure.
This isn't him being like, oh, I got an F, let me self-destruct. This is every other week he finds out something else about his family.
Sure.
Every other week he gets hit with something else. Like, oh, I have a secret brother. Oh, my brother died. I mean, my father died. Oh, my mom's not my mom. Maybe I'm constantly spiraling because I'm constantly being hit with instability. Like,
And we're
that's
learning a lot about how the 90s is treating mental health, because everyone seems to present Shawn with this idea of like, just be grateful for what you have, as if to say that he isn't afforded the option of mourning like these like people who keep leaving him. Like, he's forming these close relationships, people keep disappearing, and like for everyone else, it's like, huh, yeah, Shawn's dad took off again. Isn't that crazy? Like, that keeps happening. But anyways, Dad, do you want to go? Like, it just feels like no one is putting themselves in his shoes to empathize with him, to the point where it's like, let him have the drink, Dad. Like, let's not yell at him. Like,
thank you. Thank you. Like,
or
is
Alan
it
brings him in the kitchen, is just like pours him a little bit of whiskey and was just like, you've been through it.
or Alan poured him a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But again, not judgmentally,
Yeah.
but just like, hey, I'm gonna get you some coffee. How about we have some cake? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's something along this line.
Cake.
Because all right, let's do this really quickly. His father comes and goes. His mother comes and goes. Oh, wait, she's not his mother. His father, by the way, dead.
Yeah.
His other guardian, Turner, motorcycle accident, never seen again. Alan,
Eddie, gone.
Stacy, Eddie, gone. We know that he purposely avoids the trailer park because that's not where he feels like he needs to be. So he's cut off old ties with old family members and old community.
Such as his uncle.
Angela and him just got back together.
Mm-hmm.
Brother came out of nowhere.
He doesn't even like him.
Close. They're not close. And then the only other support system that he has, Cory's family. Cory just got married and he is already feeling abandoned by Cory as is.
Well, Cory's also hasn't been a great support system to Shawn in general. He's just there.
Exactly. So what do you want from this kid who just found out the only other authority figure? The two authority figures in his life, 3, Alan, Amy, and Mr. Feeney. And even though he loves them and respects them and he's there for Alan's birthday, they're not his dad.
Yeah.
They're
you know
not
what
his mom.
I think about, I've been friends with people who have lost parents and things like that. And like, especially in school, like, take some time off. Maybe they take a semester off. Maybe they just stop going to college and they just get a job and they circle back to it later in life, or they don't at all. Like, people need time to process shit. No one ever says to Shawn, hey, I'm proud of you. Like, you're still in school. Like, you seem like you have your life together. Like, all of this comes from his conversation with Ghost Dad. And I can't wait till we get to the Ghost Dad portion of this, because I have so much to say about that being the third act of this episode.
We're gonna go there. Okay.
Perfect.
So a few things. One, we had the you're not my dad. I don't have a mom or a dad. I'm an orphan. Then he says, I never had parents. And I think that to me, that is so important.
Mhm.
I never had parents.
Yeah.
Yes, my mom is not my mom and my dad is dead, but I've never had parents. That is so important. And that kind of, again, opens the door of like what he's dealing with. Again, let the boy
Definitely.
drink.
Let him drink.
I'm not saying that it's a good solution. I'm saying, I mean, it could be a good solution, but I'm saying that it is understandable. And someone should be like, getting drunk, getting wasted, not the greatest, but also you're hurting. And I get that.
I kind
And
of I just want to say this because and when in the first drunk episode that they had in season 5, they paint this thing about like Chet was an avid drinker. He drank all the time. This is the second time we're seeing Shawn drink. The first time was a very special episode. They either need to make drinking way more casual or they need to approach Shawn about having a potential problem because it seems like drinking is only given during that extreme where it's like an extreme thing and it's like, well, it doesn't have to be that, but if Shawn has that problem, then let's have that conversation. But it just doesn't seem like the show knows what to do with that.
absolutely, we've never had an AA meeting for Shawn.
Yeah.
So did he relapse, or is this the first beer he's had since high school? At
Sure.
which point in time, if he's a college student, he's doing pretty well.
Yeah. Or I would even say that I think you could have had that same scene without him being drunk.
I
He could have
agree.
just been like truly just hurt.
Yeah, truly just hurt is allowed. But then, okay, so let's talk about this. So he leaves because Alan's like, I'll be your father. And he's like, I just need to leave really quickly. Which again, I think that people need to understand. It is great for Alan to want to do that, to offer that. But that's not a substitute. It just isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so for Shawn to walk out, I was like, ooh, outdoor set. It's Christmas for some reason.
They had to
And
throw in Santa to remind us it was Christmas.
exactly. And then Shawn has this whole idea of like, leave me alone, pushing people away. Oh, wait, you're not who I thought it was. Santa moves. Cory's right behind him. He's like, hey, I am here. Now, here's the thing. Shawn says, let's go to the cemetery. Cory says, I thought we'd get pie. Funny joke.
Funny joke.
But then Shawn says, no cemetery. And Cory pushes back again. And I don't want to go to the cemetery. Dude, can you put your wants and needs aside for a second? Like, I need someone to explain to me why Cory being obsessed with getting pie in this moment is helpful to Shawn.
You know what? To be fair to Cory, I did not read it as that. I read it as him saying, my friend is drunk and he's saying he wants to go to a cemetery. And I just can't see that being a good idea for him. And it wasn't until Shawn like says that he wants to visit his dad that Cory maybe changes his stance a little bit. But
No,
I just
he
feel
doesn't.
like
He doesn't change his stance. That's my whole point.
yeah.
If you had that where he goes, oh, okay, I'll come with you. Oh, I didn't know this was to visit your dad. Like, oh no, he leaves because Cory says, I don't want to go there. It makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like as if Shawn isn't existing in an uncomfortable state. That's my problem.
I would just say that whole scene is kind of pointless. Cut it. Cut the
Yes,
scene.
I
Give
told
us
you.
more conversation. Give us like something else.
Or again, make it Alan.
You make it Alan.
Jack.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Make it
Like,
someone.
make it Angela. Like, in all honesty, why did it have to be Cory? And I know why it had to be Cory because Cory's the boy meets world, blah, 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 blah. But Cory is not supportive. And if him not being supportive is going to be the through line, then we don't need him there.
It also feels like Cory was able to handle these conversations way better when he was younger. Like he multiple times he would have situations where he was talking to someone who was upset, Shawn who was upset, and he was able to say like, "No, this is a hug." Like, you know, like he would get really like show love in a very obvious way. And now it just doesn't seem like he knows how to navigate it or he doesn't care to.
Exactly. We talked about this, and I will like we listen to our old episodes. We pay attention to the through line. What if Cory is just honestly exhausted with Shawn? And
Yeah.
again, this isn't a good friendship anymore. I'm not gonna lie. Think about it. Cory's just kind of like, oh wait, you have another tragedy. I'm supposed to be celebrating my dad. and I
And
can't even celebrate
well,
my dad.
let's be fair to Cory, because what I will say, the one thing that no one ever says to Shawn is, hey, have you thought about therapy? Because for someone who is struggling with severe trauma, yes, it is very hard for them. We should empathize with them 100%, but your friends cannot take the place of a therapist. Your friends aren't the people who like deserve to be trauma dumped on all the time. And I'm not saying that Shawn does that. I'm just saying that in this circumstance where you have a friend who is incurring so much trauma and not speaking to a professional about it, it would make sense that it would negatively affect their social circle. That's all.
I agreed. Do you know what they do tell Shawn? Get a job.
Get a job, be productive for the economy.
Not Cory. We didn't tell Cory go get a job, but
No.
we did tell Shawn. I think that's important. We'll come back to that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then we go to the cemetery and we get Ghost Chat. Now, I'm not gonna lie. Do I need Ghost Chat? No. Do I like Ghost Chat? Yes, because I like Blake Clark, and this is a good thing to do. My only thing is we do get exposition here in a way that there's no way Shawn would find this out.
It's so pointless. You might as well give me a dream sequence. None of the revelations that come out from Chet can be assumed to be truthful. Who
Agreed.
knows if his mom was a stripper who took one look at his butt and said I couldn't do it? This is all in Shawn's head. Or
Correct.
we are seeing an actual ghost come back from the actual dead, resurrection, to give Shawn this information. What are we doing? What are we doing?
I agree with you. And here's the thing. I think that we can't do that, which again, I'm not gonna lie, is why it being Jack makes sense.
Yeah.
Jack is the one who shows up afterwards. Because again, we can see that this was all in his head, and
Do you
it's
think
about family.
Do you think it's canon that his mom was a stripper that left after he was
Here,
born?
I'm with here's the thing. I'll say this. I think the show wants me to believe that, but I can't take it as fact because it came from a ghost.
I can't take this unreliable narrator. It came from a ghost.
It came from a ghost. I can't take here's the thing. Again, if you had given me I like the idea of we're standing in front of Chats, and if every answer Chat gave wasn't exposition, but I could see it being well, Shawn's brain filled in the blanks in this conversation.
You know what would have been great? Okay.
I listen.
Jack is the one who follows him, not Cory, right? Jack says, hey, I got some information about this woman. Here's a letter. If you want to open it, you can. But hey, clearly it is. And then he reads it at the tombstone for Chet, and that's how he gets the information. Because then at least I'm like, okay, fine, there's some resolution to the storyline. But surely it's he got drunk, talked to a ghost, and decided everything was cool. What is this storyline?
I agree with you, because let's talk about it. We learned that according to Ghost Chat, Shawn's mom was a stripper that Chet was in love with.
Was in love with a stripper.
And so there's that, but also was with Verna at the time. So again, I think this idea of canonizing Chet but being mad at Verna doesn't sit well with me. It just won't, because again, he goes, I'm proud of you, Dad. You stayed.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
In fact, that's the thing you yelled at him about that gave him the heart attack, was that he never was around.
He says, you did good with me. You're currently drunk in a cemetery. No, he didn't.
And you're looking at everything. It's this is what trauma does. This is what abuse does. This is what all these things do, where he's just well, I'm going to love you and almost put you in the same level as an Alan, simply because you were around the longest out of everyone. And it's almost no one takes this time to just be oh, that's kind of sad that he has to build up Chet to be this person he wasn't, that they can have close father and son talks that they never had when he was alive. Every meaningful conversation he's had with Chet has been after he died. He had one with Ghost Chet when he was on road trip last year. So it just feels all of this is in Shawn's headcanon. It's not realistic to the story. I mean, it doesn't go along with the storyline. I don't know what this means for Shawn, which is why I question if this episode matters and if they should have done it. Because if this was how they were going to have the resolution be, it just feels like it was for nothing.
I'm not going to lie. to you in the sense of given what the episode is telling us. I have my own headcanon.
Yeah.
I have my own arguments. We've made our own world outside of the Boy Meets World writing that ties all of this together. But I do understand that this is a television show and it was never supposed to be examined this closely. But as someone who has been rewatching, as someone who loves long form storytelling and getting to know people and serialization, and you are the ones who brought back Alan being in the Navy, and you are the ones who brought back Chet and Verna and all this other stuff. If you want me to remember all of these things, I am not wrong to want to fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say that for you to say to Chet, I'm proud of you. You did the best that you could. When we know that Chet swung by, the only reason why you saw Chet when he had his heart attack was that he happened to be swinging by because he needed a place to stay before his next grift. It was not to see you. It was not to come celebrate anything for you. It was him swinging through town, and by happenstance, he happened to die around you and you were able to be there. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been there. And even then, every single day, it seems, you find out something new about your dad's secret life that you knew nothing about. And you want to look at him and say, you did good, Dad. I'm proud of you. No, you don't get to do that and then blame Verna, the woman who was never your mom, for leaving and taking her own life back.
It's so telling to me that the story was about Cory, right? Like seeing the life of Cory. But doesn't it say something that his brother, his best friend, even his wife for the most part, like no one is like living up to their potential. No one is exactly happy with where their life is at. Like it feels like the show is telling us in so many ways that like the influence of Cory seems to have done more harm than good. And I know this is kind of separate from like what we were talking about, but just the idea that Shawn has had to deal with all of this heartache, I wonder if it would have been as hard if he wasn't constantly comparing his life to the template.
Very good point. Very good point. I'll say this.
Yeah.
Really quickly, I just want to wrap up the chat there, which is when I will say for all of you listening, when Chet says you're proud of me, and he goes, I am, and Chet goes, well, finally I can get a little sleep. I was like, okay, that touched my heart.
Yeah,
that is sweet. That is a really sincere moment. I loved it. I also looked and it said Chet was born 1948, died 1999. So Chet died at 51.
Yeah, he was young.
He's older than, yeah, he's young, but he's older than Alan.
Yeah, sure.
He died at 51. So like if this was a year ago, he would be 52, which means he's 6 years older than Alan. And there is something interesting about the idea of Alan being the more put together parent, even though Chet was older.
Sure, definitely. One last thing I just want to say about this whole sequence, and I noticed that from the point where Cory was following Shawn up until the end of the cemetery scene, is that we lose the laugh track. And the show kind of turns into like a single camera. You have Shawn and Cory doing their normal bits, like, oh, I was hoping we could get pie. Like moments you would expect the audience to laugh, and they don't. And so they have to kind of it turns into almost like a play, the way they have to go back and forth. They have to change the rhythms a little bit. And even when Chet and Shawn are kind of chit-chatting at the grave, like there's jokes being had, but it's just, it has a different feel to it. I think it works. I think the episode is so solemn that like you can accept that there's not the laugh track there, that it just disappears for a portion of the episode. And I just actually, that's the one thing I did like about this episode, was that it just felt like something different. It felt like single camera for a little bit.
I will say, as much as I like it, I also feel like it feels like it just keeps going.
Or is that the dream sequence of it all? Like, changes perspective?
No, not the changing perspective, even though, I mean, that's an argument. I like that. We can go with that. I'm saying that the story itself, this episode, it's like Shawn gets a letter from his mom. Then he finds out that it's not his mom. Then he goes looking for his mom. Then he's drunk. Then he has a frustration with Cory. Then he goes to the cemetery. Then he has a conversation with his ghost dad. And again, we could end at any one of these points. Then he goes back to the house and he's family with Alan. Then him and Alan have a conversation, and it's like, why? Like, we could have stopped. We could have stopped. Like, either one of these could have been the end of this storyline, and I would have been way happier. And it just feels like it just keeps
I
going.
will say it did feel like a very long 20 minutes. Like whatever the episode length was, it felt long, which this episode, some of these episodes are like, oh, we need more. We need so much more. Like, I wish we had more time. And this one, I was just like, let's wrap it up.
Anything else you want to say?
Not about this storyline, though.
Okay, I'll say this. For again, it doesn't matter because I'm always like, oh, for those of you who are like mad about what we're saying with with Cory and Shawn, I will say there is a point where Cory goes, "You would be my brother." Do you get how cool that'd be? And Shawn says, "You've always been my brother."
Yeah.
And there's a way of looking at it. To your point, to me, Cory keeps going, "Hey, you can have the American dream. You can be the template. You can just assimilate into our lives and take on our identity, and then you'll be good. You'll have everything. You can be adopted." And I like that Shawn is like, I have my own family.
Yeah.
This
definitely.
is guess where my family is? In that cemetery. I'm gonna go visit my family.
And this is so true to what we know of Shawn. Like so many times the Matthews have like stay with us and we sneak out the back window or something like that. He's never felt at home completely with the Matthews. He loves thinking of them as family, but like not his family.
But also, I think that there is something about, like, again, to me, I use the word assimilation for a reason.
Yeah.
It's this idea of, if you come with us, everything will be solved. And Shawn is like, no, it won't be, because I won't be myself. I'll be a Matthews. And I'm not a Matthews. I'm a Hunter.
Yeah.
I have my own bloodline that I need to course.
And he like hugs Jack to insinuate that he's going to like rededicate himself to that relationship, which we'll see. One last thing, like right at the end, he says to Angela, he says like, promise me you'll never leave or something like that. And I was just like, oh, buddy, like you're never going to catch a fucking break on this show ever.
and again, I think that that's something that we should, like, this is, Shawn has reason to be drinking. That's all I'm saying.
You got reason to be drinking.
Okay, let's talk about the B storyline. Alan's birthday.
Alan's birthday. Well, yeah, like I said, like my first impression of this was that like it's so sad that Alan just couldn't enjoy his damn birthday. Like
I agree.
We can get into like the hijinks of Eric trying to plan this birthday, but like that was kind of my main walkout. It was just like, wow, like we so rarely check in on Alan and Amy. And like, in all fairness to Alan, a lot of focus has been on Amy within the last year with the baby and the pregnancy. Not that like he handled that situation the best way, but he just needed something to be his. Like, I just kind of felt that. And I'm sad that he didn't get it.
I would have liked if like Alan would have had like some jokes to be like, I mean, it is my birthday. You know, like, like if Shawn's having like, oh, like, well, can I get a drink? Like, you know, something to where Alan is like there and it's his party and he is a little like, I mean, I get that you lost your mom, but I mean, it is my party. You know, like, something like that would have been fun for Alan to like acknowledge that he doesn't have anything for himself, and this party was supposed to be it. And I want to talk because like there's a scene where Alan and Eric are on the couch and they're like playing around and like they're father and son again.
Yeah,
and it's really fun because like right now Pod is they are doing season 4 where they talk about the fact that they're constantly pairing Rusty and Will up, and so it's funny to see Alan and Eric have a scene together where they're not just talking down on Eric.
They have a tickle fight.
Fun with it. They have a tickle fight, and I think that's great. They're father and son, and then I'm not gonna lie, at the end of the episode when Shawn gives his gift to Alan, first things first, when did he have time to make that? Did you make that ahead of time?
No, I think that's something from the trailer that he originally made for Chet that he's giving to Alan.
Ooh.
It was a child. The handprints were his childhood like his child prints.
Are they?
Yeah, it was like one of those little.
Small. They could have been.
Yeah. No, it was like one of those little art projects you make when you're a kid. Yeah,
it is one of those art projects. But I thought he made it. I thought like it says to my dad, and also to the idea, like to that. I'll say this: no matter what, the gift works. Whether it's a re-gift, although it's like, why would you re-gift something to someone and not show it? If we would have shown if Ryder would have said, I went by my parents' house and I got you this or something, I agree. They make it seem like he decided to do this.
Yeah.
And again, I just want to say whether or not you went and found it or you made it, it's still a gift that takes time to make, and we need some kind of explanation on how we got here. That's all I'm saying. But
Yeah,
the
I
gift
had
itself,
assumed it was old right away, but and I only say that because I had a very similar one that I had made for my mom when I was in like kindergarten or something like
yeah,
that.
no. Here's the thing. I got to me, I need you guys to let us know. Does it look, because I know what it looks like. It could still be Ryder's hand. Ryder's a really small
If
person.
a
So
drunk 19-year-old came to me with like hand art saying
yes, that's
to
what I'm saying.
dad,
But
I'd be
here's the
like,
thing.
oh, this boy really needs some help. Like it
But
wouldn't be cute if adult did it
but
versus
he
kid did it.
does need help, and it
Yeah, he
is supposed
does.
to be cute. That's the point. It's like,
Yeah.
no, this is where he's at. This is where he's at. So to me, no matter what, the idea, and also again, it kind of takes it away if he didn't make it specifically for Alan.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't make it specifically for Alan, then it's not as special. So it has to be made for Alan. It has to be something where he's like, hey, I'm letting you know that I know and I consider you my father.
Yeah, and I think that does mean enough to Alan to matter regardless of when it was
Either
constructed.
way,
But
it
yeah.
was very sweet. I got very emotional seeing it. I thought it was a great gift. And again, just because it's kind of like the most innocent of gifts that you can get.
My favorite part of the Alan storyline was when Eric's there and he's like, "Why didn't you throw my party for tonight? You do it tomorrow." He's like, "Oh, I wanted it to be a surprise, whatever." It's the fake out, and then everyone comes out and says surprise. When Alan jumps up and says, "Outstanding!" He is so happy. It reminds me of like in Parks and Rec when Ron Swanson sees little Sebastian, like that giggle, that child, like, oh,
Yeah.
like he really wanted to just have a surprise party, and at least the surprise was like he got that. Like it seemed like it really meant something to him.
Again, also, I forgot about this, but we've already had this conversation where Alan doesn't have good birthdays because of his mom. So again, for him to actually have a party and to be celebrated is a big deal.
Yeah.
I wish we had spent time there. I don't like that. I like that Shawn goes, hey, can you do me a favor and yell at me like you would Eric and Cory? Ignore Megan or Joshua because they don't exist.
They
But
do not exist.
but if he said that, I like that he says that, but I also wish that we wouldn't have ended the episode
It
with
felt like
Alan being judgmental towards his kid who just lost everything and being like, "Oh, you want these things? You want a house? Go
Yeah.
get a job." And it's just like, but you didn't even say that to your own child. So
Because
why
it
are you
doesn't
saying that
matter
to
if Cory gets a job. It matters if low-income Shawn gets a job. That's why. I really was unsatisfied with the whole ending. The whole like, can you yell at me the way you do at the boys? That being some like big resolution to this thing. It all just felt like it went nowhere and it ended nowhere. And
I would have liked it if they would have just ended with like, yes, but before I yell at you, let's have some cake.
yeah.
Like I don't need him yelling at Shawn, telling Shawn get a job on a house he may want in the future.
Yeah.
That was a conversation. Even Cory and Topanga says that was a conversation reserved for them, but you didn't have it with them. But you want to have it with Shawn? No. Instead, if you would have been like, Shawn, I will. I promise you, I will yell at you like I would all my other children. But first, let's have some cake. Now we have that wholesome moment, and we still get to have like this cathartic sitcom wrapping everything up. Things are going to be okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it is what it
is. I mean, I truly like everything we're saying. I'm like, yeah, that would make it a little bit better, but I still don't know that I would love the episode.
I mean, it is what it is.
A few things I just want to point out before just because I know we're wrapping up. I thought it was funny when Cory says to Eric, "I like it when you call me Squirt."
Yes.
Amy says to Eric, "We used you as a decoy. We all knew you'd be stupid, and we wanted to use it against you," which is like kind of a crazy thing for a mom to say to her son, but okay, whatever. Everyone's laughing about it. And one thing we didn't talk about, which inevitably was going to come up during my bra moment, I mean, I can save it, but when Eric tells Rachel to yell the Japanese are attacking, to insinuate Alan's post-Vietnam PTSD.
I'm going to choose to move forward. But yes, I did watch that and I was like, oh, okay,
What are we doing?
we're keeping this. Um, I will say that I like that. I mean, in an episode called Family Tree, we have family. Like
Yeah.
Jack and Shawn are brothers. Eric and Cory are brothers. Eric and Alan are father and son. Amy has children. Cory and Topanga are a married couple who are visiting their in-laws. Like there is a lot going on here. There is a lot of dynamics. We acknowledge Angela's mom. Like we have family, and I like that.
Yeah.
And I also like that we have Rachel not having to be sexualized for anything else. We actually include Rachel in the fun as well. So I just thought that was all really fun. Not the kids though.
Not the kids.
Okay. What is your bruh moment? Was that your bruh moment?
Yes, yeah, that's my bra moment. Eric tells Rachel, Japanese are attacking. Apparently to like again, Alan PTSD from war. It felt a little racist. I don't know.
No, absolutely. Agreed.
So yeah, that's
I will align with you that I feel like that to me is the most bruh moment of them all. I also think that Shawn's mom being a sex worker is, or not necessarily a sex worker, but a stripper, is it feels
it
unnecessary.
felt very hunchback. It was just like your mother was a whore, she abandoned you. It was
It
like
does.
good.
Why couldn't she just not been motherly?
Yeah, like why did she have to be a stripper is the reason why she couldn't be like we don't even know that she's a stripper. We
That's
can't even
another
say that for fact. Like
that's
it's
true.
but
True.
it's so can we paint the picture that that whole thing was in Shawn's head? So that's what Shawn thinks he comes from. Like
Exactly.
that's interesting.
Exactly.
And that's what Shawn thinks of a stripper and all that.
Exactly.
Like
that's what I was gonna say. That was my point. I completely agree with you. Okay. Finny lesson. What's the lesson of this episode?
birthdays are a disappointment. Almost like don't expect like if you go out with zero expectations you'll have a great time, but just like let's be real, like most of the time you get really excited and it's kind of a letdown.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna not try to control you and let your lesson be your lesson. My Feeny lesson of the episode, again, where's Feeny? My lesson of the episode is family is more than just blood, but also it's important to have your own, like, be proud of like your own identity.
I would almost argue that the episode almost says that like actually family is about blood. Like it was way more important for Shawn to like say like I want to identify with my bloodline versus being a part of the Matthews.
But at the very end, it says to my dad.
Like a metaphorical dad. I get it.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, that's what
I'm
I'm
not
saying.
wrong. Here's the thing. I don't think you're wrong. I just don't. I think the episode's kind of all over the fucking place.
Here's the thing: you didn't get any arguments about that from me. Not at all. What grade are you giving this episode?
Giving this episode a D, bro. Sorry.
Really?
Sorry. I really don't like this turn for Shawn. It feels out of nowhere. It also feels like something that we're not going to hear about for the rest of the season or ever again. Like, why did we even do this? Like, it feels like they were just almost like we need something dramatic. Let's just throw something at Shawn. Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel thought through and it doesn't feel actualized. It just feels like we're running out. We're running out of ideas.
So funny that you say that because I think that the fact that it pulls on so many previous storylines shows that it is thought through. But I'm not disagreeing with you. Also, I'm judging this episode as this episode. You're judging this episode in its place in the season.
No, I mean, even in this episode, I feel like it's poorly constructed. I don't know what the hell the third act is, and I don't get any resolution from it.
Here's the thing. I'm giving this episode a C+. That's my whole thing.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's not great, but it had enough fun and it had enough heart, and it was enough Boy Meets World for me to be like, yeah, I'm familiar with this.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys. So if let us know your thoughts on this episode. Let us know where you think Shawn's mom is. Let us know what you think. Whether about Ghost Chet. And we are going to go on to our Patreon part of the episode where we talk about singled out and read some of your letters. So if I had emailed you and contacted you and said that we were reading your letters, this is the part where we're going to do that. And when we come back, we'll do homework. And it's time for homework. But what do you got? It's your time. It's your time to shine.
Yeah. Like I said, I did see Dune this weekend, and it wasn't the experience that I was really wanting it to be. Like, I was really wanting like a wow moment that I was promised, and I just didn't really get that. I will say though, um, I went home and rewatched Planet of the Apes, the trilogy.
I
So
love that.
good.
I
I
love that movie.
love this trilogy. Like, I think it's so good. Like, in terms of use of CGI, and I think a good example of how to use CGI to
Yep.
advance storytelling. I just think they do such a great job of it. I remember the first time I saw like the trailer for like the second one, where I saw a monkey riding a horse. I was like, that looks stupid. And then I'm watching this movie. I'm like, no, fuck it. I'm in it. I'm in this world. And I think in terms of
Yep.
world building, it does such a great job. The character of Caesar and the evolution of him across the three films, from just like this, like, newborn baby who has this intelligence, to being like the leader of this new tribe, and his
Mm-hmm.
rise to get there, I think is so Shakespearean. Like, it's just such a great work from like all three movies. So I'm just throwing that out there. If you have time to revisit it, it still holds up. And with the new one in the works, I just think it would be good to kind of circle back to it.
Yeah, I want to make sure you are not talking about the 2001 Mark
Mm.
Wahlberg one.
No, I am not. I am not talking about that one. I'm not talking about Michael Clark Duncan dressed like a monkey. Like, we're recovering from that still.
Okay, so which one is that?
Okay, so the trilogy that I'm talking about it starts with Rise of the
Rise
Planet.
of the Planet
Yeah.
of the Apes,
Hmm.
2011. And that, like, I was looking for that. I love that trilogy. To me, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, then it's Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War of the Planet of the Apes. Those to me are three really good. And I am excited for, I think it's Kingdom of
Yeah.
the Planet of the Apes.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm excited for it too. I think the thing that makes this work, and I just want to give some flowers to him, Andy Serkis, who
Yeah.
plays Caesar. He's the motion like graphics artist who plays Caesar. He also played Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Like, he perfected putting dots on my face, and I'm still gonna make a meal out of it. Like, I've seen so many Marvel movies where they turn someone into CGI and it feels like they can't emote anymore. But I've
Mhm.
never seen one of his performances where he didn't like take me to another place via just his physical movement. And so I just think he's a really powerful performer. And he's done a bunch of other things. He was in the Batman. He played Alfred in Batman, the
Yeah.
most recent one. And he's also in Andor as well. So great career.
Love that. Love that for you. Okay. So my homework this week, uh I went down a reality TV hole
Ooh.
where at first it started with Couple to Thruple, which is a fantastic, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a reality dating show where couples go and look for a third. And
Couple
it
to
is
thruple?
Couple to Thruple. And it is like a, oh my God. I'm just like, it is diverse. It is queer. It is everything that, like, I'm like watching, I'm like, this is on television. How are we doing this?
How
And
are we
I just
doing
like, I'm
this?
so amazed. My mind is blown. I never thought that I would see a gay couple fellatiate a third man in their own like marriage bed. Like for television. It's crazy.
It's
But
crazy.
it is, to me, what was really great about it is I like this idea of stepping out of what a conventional family or coupledom is supposed to look like. They take being a throuple very seriously. There are success stories that come away from this, but it's also like any other dating show, and it's messy, and it's just like, yes, you can do all the things that you usually do, but also bring in diversity. And let's be honest, with 90 Day Fiance or Love Is Blind, it's not like we pretend all this stuff is sacred anyway. So there's,
I cannot wait to try this.
oh, I've gotten so many people addicted. You gotta watch it.
I'm 100% going to watch it. I've actually never been a huge reality TV person, but I will say that within the last few months, I have been getting more into reality TV. And so I'm excited to try this.
Just you wait, because that was just the tip of the iceberg.
Ooh.
That led me, while that was on.
No game is just the tip.
Just the tip. The commercials for Traders.
I watch Traders. Bro.
Addicted to Traders. Dude,
I love Traders.
Every single one. I have watched Traders US seasons 1 and 2. I am currently Traders UK. And if you think Traders Australia isn't up on the map, you are wrong.
I haven't seen any of the other countries. I've only seen Traders US. And I'm like watching actively season 2. I'm so excited. This was a show I did not give a shit, but I didn't know anything about it. I also don't follow like reality television is like its own extended universe.
Yeah.
I don't do the Big Brothers or the I just started watching the challenge actually, but like I'm not into the history of it all. But a good game, like a good whodunit.
Yes.
Love it.
It's all my favorite things. It's a good whodunit. I'm getting to watch people and how they deal with lying and how people there are so many. Like, I'll have to talk to you offline about some season 1, how it resolved.
I've actually haven't seen season 1. I just started watching season 2 because I know it was live. So I have to go back to season 1.
So here's how it happened. I was watching season 2. Just started off with season 2. But then with that, I had got caught up, but I was addicted to this show. So then I started watching the UK season 1, so I could have something else to watch.
Sure.
And then my husband was interested, and I was like, well, no. You have to watch from the beginning. So I started US season 1. So I was watching 3 seasons at the exact same time. And I just finished season 1 of Traders last night at US Traders. And I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but it's a fun game. You are always able to get really interesting. Like you, I don't know who any of these people are. Any of the reality TV shows. I think it's actually kind of interesting that the networks were able to create their own form of celebrities.
Yeah.
They get to shuffle around.
Absolutely.
There's that synergy that you're talking about.
And I will say that, like, in terms of reality television, part of the reason why I really struggled to jump into like Big Brother or The Challenge or any of these other shows was because they kept you kept having to know the history of the players and like, oh, these 2 characters got in a fight like 5 years ago and they haven't spoken since. It's like, I don't have time to watch 33 seasons of Big Brother to find out what's going on. But Traders is brand new. You can kind of just jump in at every season and watch it as like its own thing, which works really great for me.
Absolutely. And Traders, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, it's my new thing. I was like, I'll say this. Peacock has cemented itself in our household.
Peacock, staple. I love Peacock, bro. They have such good movies on there. All their shows are great. Also, they have all of like the NBC can't miss TV, all of like the things you want to binge watch anyway. Their old shows, they're there. They have great shit. I love Peacock.
We were talking about what to get rid of, and then we discovered Couple to Thruple and Traders, and my husband was like, oh, Peacock is staying.
Peacock is staying. It's up there for me. I would get rid of Apple TV over Peacock at this
100%. Okay. So you guys, let us know what you're watching. Thank you so much. Tune in for our next recap episode, which will be season 7, episode 13, The Provider. You guys, thank you so much. We want to hear what you have to say. As we always say, check out our Patreon for an extended version of this episode. TC and I talked about a lot of things that we just couldn't include in the full length episode, but we do want to hear from you. We do want to hear what you think about it. Check out our Patreon. Hit us up at Bruh Meets World on all the places. Tony, close us out.
Guys, just remember to dream,
to try,
and to do good.
Later, Briz.
Later, Briz. This episode of Bruh Meets World was produced by Ceej and edited by Tony Curtis. Bruh Meets World is a 2 free tokens media production.
Bye.
Bye.
When this boy meets world.